writers, today is so exciting. It's one of our mini celebrations because we finished another Bend and Baby literary essay. And today we're going to do something really cool. We're going to compare how we were doing in our first Bend with how we're doing in our second Bend. And we're going to look at our growth. Look how different this flower looks here. Way back at the beginning, we don't even know what kind of flower it is till here when it really blossoms. I feel like I always knew you were amazing writers, but I didn't realize how much you had grown as writers until I really saw some of your Indian Shoes essays versus your Each Kindness essays. So let's take a look at what we're going to do today, writers. This is what you need to know. It is important for writers to take time to reflect and celebrate their growth. One way to do this is to compare an earlier essay with a more recent one. So let me show you. Here's one of my literary essays from Each Kindness, and we're going to compare this to one from Indian Shoes. And I think one of the things we noticed even visually, I'm writing a lot more now, and I'm chunking my writing into paragraphs. So in Each Kindness by Jacqueline Woods, Maya is persistent. One part of the story that shows this is when Maya whispers to Chloe about her Jax, even though Chloe keeps turning away from her. She says, "Bet you can't guess who the new Jax champion of the world is." Another example is Maya keeps asking the girls to play with her at lunchtime too. Maya is a persistent character. So I do have an introduction and a conclusion, but I haven't really spiced them up or added anything. And they're not their own paragraphs. They're not enough to stand on their own. And in the middle, I have some evidence, but I haven't had enough explanation to really chunk it out into paragraphs as well. So I have all the parts. I can probably convince you that Maya is persistent, but let's see how much better my essays are now after reading Indian Shoes. In Indian Shoes by Cynthia Leidick Smith is about a young boy, Ray, who helps Grandpa Half Moon get the moccasins he wanted. Ray is a thoughtful character. So right there in my introduction, I'm telling you who the author is, who the book is, who it's about, and my big bold idea. And it's enough to stand alone as its own paragraph. Looking at my body, I can see that I'm going to be talking about at least two really big important points at two different parts of the story, and that's why I have two more paragraphs. In the beginning of the story, Ray is thoughtful when he notices that his grandpa is homesick. When he and his grandpa are at the antique shop, his grandpa shows him the men's moccasins for sale. Grandpa says, "These put me in the mind of being back home." Then when they go to the baseball game, Ray notices that Grandpa Half Moon stops talking. In the text it says, "He was quiet," Ray realized. Ray could have just thought about himself, but instead he's thinking about Grandpa Half Moon and how he feels. Later, Ray is thoughtful when he offers to trade his shoes for the moccasins. He stops the lady who bought the moccasins and offers a trade. Ray says, "I've got some more Indian shoes you could use. Beats me who made them, but they're for sure Indian worn." This matters because Ray is willing to give up his own shoes in order to get his grandpa moccasins. Ray might even have to go home barefoot. So way more evidence in my body. This all shows that Ray is a thoughtful character. Ray learns that it feels good to be thoughtful and help other people. Restate my big bold idea and just a little bit extra there to make a nice solid conclusion. So your turn. You're going to go take a look at one of your Each Kindness essays and your Indian Shoes essays and really analyze, and I want you thinking about how you have grown as a writer. Then for our celebration, I can publish a literary essay to celebrate my growth. I know I'm successful when I pick a recent literary essay that I believe is my strongest work. So I would really recommend whichever essay you stretch that body on, that's the one you're going to go type. So you want to go back and look at when you redid your introduction and type that, retype that amazing body you put together, and then type your conclusion you spiced up yesterday. And we're going to type it in order to have a class display. So in your writer's notebook, you will see you've got a spot where you can jot down what are you doing better now, what do you think you could still improve upon. Then you're going to go ahead and publish, and you still have one of your checklists to reflect on when you look at your final work today. One other thing I want to remind you of, we've talked about this a lot, Make sure that any edits and changes you've made make it into your published copy. And do not forget to hit that tab key to show that you are starting a new paragraph. And give yourselves a great big pat on the back. And let's give ourselves a round of applause. You made it through another bend and your writing is amazing. I cannot wait to see these published pieces, writers. Off you go.